This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
Anthony for three. Bang!
How's it going, ladies, gentlemen, and sports fans alike? You're listening to the Ruckus and The Menace podcast. I'm Spence the Menace.
And I am Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And on this episode of the podcast, we are recapping a few things that have happened during the franchise tag window. Excuse me. Caught a couple of good, bad, and uglies, especially regarding some major recent sporting situations. We will be determining whether certain things are worth the time to be able to do the deeper dive of an ESPN 30 for 30 and breaking down the American League as far as baseball preview, along with naming our stud and dud for the week. We bring you this episode of Ruckus and the Menace podcast. Ruckus, how have things kind of been going?
Well, I'll tell you what. Life has been a little stressful, but other than that, I'm getting ready for the weekend, baby, because your boy is going to the happiest place on earth. That's right, I'm going to Disney World. That is where Mahomes went after he won the Super Bowl and his homies won the Super Bowl for, like, really a day. But anyways, this past weekend, I beat Atomic Heart, and without going into, like, spoiler zone, I'm just going to say the gameplay is the best part about it. Everything else, the storyline and everything, is kind of hit or miss, and it just seems like they kind of missed the mark on what the game should have really been about. I mean, it's a BioShock meets Wolfenstein meets other games that you could probably think of when it comes to the vibe of the game. As far as the loot system and everything, it's nice. Crafting's nice, but it gets annoying when it comes to getting spotted. So it's more of like a stealthy slash action-based game. I watched most of the Kelsey SNL, and then when I wasn't doing that, I was playing Vigima games, watching YouTube, and sleeping. Spence, how have you been?
Well, we're 2 weeks away. Pretty much 2 weeks away from a lot of things happening. So we are hitting a little bit on the busy side of things. Exterminators at the house trying to take care of mouse issues. I've gotten to watch the first two Creed movies, but we'll need to hit the theaters at some point to go see Creed 3. I've at least gotten the green light from my other half that if I'm able to go without her, I can. I am almost finished Hogwarts Legacy. I am down to the final fight, and I just had to stock up on Wiggenweld potions for that. And really, it's been just kind of trying to stay busy with everything else going on. And there's so much going on in these last 2 weeks. We're probably just going to fly at about 100 miles an hour. But I've got some things going on Friday. That are going to be nice. It'll probably get mentioned during the pod. Well, probably not during the pod next week because you're going to be out in Florida. But
Florida. I'm going to be a Florida man for a week, so better watch out.
You're going to be in Central Florida.
Florida.
Yeah. Oh, what the? I am. I don't know why my screen was doing all that, but let's get right into the starting lineup because all of a sudden just something weird happened. Something weird happened. It all came back, but it was just like it just went and said blink.
And you're just like, no.
I was like, I wanted to. It was like I wanted to try and get right to the story. I want to
All
try and get
right.
right to the starting lineup.
All right. I'll start us off with the news. John Bones Jones defeats Cyril Gain. That's how you say it, right? Cyril? Or
I'm
Sir?
not sure. Yeah, I think it's Gane kind of. I'm not too sure because I didn't watch the fight.
Okay. Cyril Gain with the guillotine choke in the second round to claim the UFC heavyweight title. Um, Las Vegas is working on a proposal to try and get the Oakland Athletics to relocate to them. Um, Raiders franchise tag Josh Jacobs. Cowboys get Tony Pollard on the franchise tag
Well,
as well.
you-
Uh, did you have something to add to that?
well, I was just making sure you kind of had that right because I just kind of went and just said Cowboys Tony Pollard, just kind of saying like yes, it's still a franchise tag.
And also, Tony Parker is also a Texas native too, but not related to the.
Tony Pollard. Well, Tony Parker is actually from France, but
Oh, I was just saying as far as a Texas sports player. Anyway,
yeah, drafted to the San Antonio Spurs
yeah.
for
Anyway,
basketball, not football. But
and then the Chiefs do not decide to use the franchise tag on anybody because it doesn't make financial sense. Um, so Orlando Brown is not franchise tagged, and Frank Clark the Shark got let's say cut. So he is smelling blood in the water as we speak. The Saints signed Derek Carr to a 4-year deal, I believe. $100 million guaranteed. And then Giants signed Danny Dimes as he is. I believe that's also like a 4-year deal or a 3-year
I believe it
deal.
was also, I believe it was a nice, nice size deal. I can tell you that much.
And then the Giants also had enough to in the tank to franchise tag Saquon Barkley for now. As a reminder, the franchise tag, when it comes to the extensions or if they decide to trade a player, the extension part they had till July 15th to reach an extension or the player plays under that franchise tag contract of 1 year, whatever they make for that.
Yes. Daniel Jones's deal was a 4-year, $160 million extension. And it's very interesting because they initially did not take his 5th year they didn't put him on his 5th-year option. So for them to go from being like, hey, we want this guy gone to now, hey, we actually want to commit to this guy. It's kind of, and it was all because of a coaching change.
I feel like he also turned a new leaf once later in the season happened too, because like it helps when you have dare I say semi decent quarterback to like help you through the things and also step up, but also a healthy Saquon helps as well. So I'm glad that they finally figured out that whole mess with his injury history and whatnot. Because it seemed like he was always injured with like a hamstring or a leg injury of some sort.
Yeah. But now we go right into the Eastwood segment this week.
The good.
With our good, bad, and ugly.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I swear to God you heard that. Don't tell me you didn't.
Yes, I did hear that one.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first officially. Ruckus and The Menace, episode 47. It took so goddamn long that finally Spennis was able to hear me say it like an idiot. All right. So, what's good in sports this week, Spennis?
Well, I was gonna let you have that one because you actually put that one in there. Because the bad and the ugly were actually the two that I threw down.
All right, I'll take it. I'll take it. The female manager for the minor leagues, Ronnie uh, Gadwin, shadows Diamondbacks Lavulo, the major league general manager for the Diamondbacks, as I believe this was like a spring training um, time where they had about 3 hours during the game, and then about a full week or day of just shadowing him.
Yeah, like basically her asking a whole bunch of because I believe she's actually a manager for the one of the farm teams
That is correct.
in the system. So it's kind of nice that all of a sudden she'll be able to kind of go and learn and kind of have those type of things. Granted that the major issue that kind of comes along with that is kind of how the dealings of the locker room are, but it's not like teams haven't figured that out with other female managers in the past. I think the Yankees come to mind with theirs for their minor league manager, one of their minor league managers.
Also, the female refs as well, I feel like would be a huge change as well, as far as like just how that's dealt with, because like it's mainly the league has been mainly male dominant for the past well, ever since it started, it seems. um but yes, the way I like how this new leaf is turning, I'm gonna be saying that a lot here, with the opposite sex being a part of the game, and I think it's a good one. I don't see why not. I don't see why you can't have a female manager, and I'm glad that things are looking good for her and Lavulo. Congratulations to the league.
Yep. And now we go into the first thing that was not so good. We have the Ravens deciding to use their non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. And now teams that may need a quarterback that could have even looked that way are just like, no thanks. Now, I think the Ravens are just this kind of has so many different convoluted fronts involved. And we start we start with uh, where would you rather have me start with this? The Ravens, the teams that would be in pursuit of a quarterback, or do you want me to just go straight for the throat and attack Lamar Jackson?
Um, I mean, first off, jokes aside, I think that if you put him as a running back, maybe more teams would go for him. But as far as the quarterback talk, I think it's more just how the injury bug has riddled him, not uh let alone the uh issues with his stomach during games, where you would have to
Oh, I
go.
I was wanting to kind of see this from like multiple fronts. I wasn't going to go straight after Lamar Jackson now. I didn't necessarily come in here trying to wake up and violence, but
I mean, what do you think, Spennis? What do you think is going on there?
but I think that a little bit of what the Ravens have going on here. You have their desire to want to try and hang on to Lamar Jackson. Why do you think they would have wanted to try and franchise tag him? However, there are a few things going on with the convoluted situation. And first of all, this starts with yes, this does start with Lamar Jackson himself. And that is that every bit of he's wanting to try and make Deshaun Watson type money. But any team, because of this non-exclusive franchise tag, if they end up signing Lamar Jackson and Baltimore chooses not to extend, the price tag for it is 2 first-round picks, which the value on those is kind of rather sky high.
Yeah, no shit. I feel like also his
So,
injury history doesn't help that either.
oh, the injury history doesn't help. The decision to try and represent himself may be a little bit of a factor too, but it's the play style. It's a quarterback who, like Lamar Jackson, kind of like Michael Vick before him, is so reliant on his mobility and his legs that once he gets to like a certain age and all of a sudden he can't do that anymore, he doesn't have the arm strength to kind of work out everything else.
Yeah.
Which the thing is that Baltimore choosing to use the non-exclusive franchise tag is just trying to say, "Hey, we're gonna dangle this carrot over there to these quarterback needy teams who are kind of like where they're thinking they're gonna be have their tongues dripping saliva to try and hunt down for Lamar Jackson, which certain other teams that are kind of like maybe in like a real interested pursuit for a quarterback, the Atlanta Falcons are just like, nah. The Washington Commanders. Let me think. I thought once about it. I thought twice about it. Gave it a second for those thoughts to regurgitate. No. uh, um, and then just there's teams that would be in proper pursuit or just no thanks. So Baltimore, even though they're paying less for the money for Lamar Jackson to try and franchise tag him with that non-exclusive tag, there is not a high likelihood that Lamar Jackson is going to find a reasonable suitor that is going to give him $250 million fully guaranteed. No thanks. And I
Yeah.
mean, and that's why I say that this whole situation with Lamar Jackson has so many fronts involved with it. And just this latest thing just does not necessarily provide the most help for it.
Yeah, and it sounds like most teams are not going, as the phrase says, touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yep. As more teams kind of say no thanks, I think that Baltimore says, sorry, you stuck. You are stuck with Lamar Jackson. Yeah, Chosen Anderson just got cut. The Jets are meeting with Aaron Rodgers, so they may not be interested in the whole situation. So and with Seattle just looking at Geno Smith now to extend him, I I have a funny feeling that Lamar Jackson is going to stay in Baltimore and kind of not be too happy about it.
Yeah, for sure. All
And
right.
then now to going from the bad to now this just went from kind of bad to probably worse, even though he was not charged for it in the certain things, unlike Sean Kemp. Ja Morant having to miss at least a good amount of games for the involvement of displaying what appeared to be a gun in an Instagram live video while at a nightclub, and also and because of where he was, he would have had it on the team plane.
Yeah, not a good look for Mr. Jaw.
Well, it it could be like he's trying to portray a certain, dare I say, almost thug-like image when he probably is not the most like it.
Also, it's not good to do that in general when it comes to how the league is trying to
Crack down on it.
advertise. Well, like they're trying to advertise that they're a family-friendly league, that their players are least likely to cause problems, and like John Morant pretty much displaying it. What appears, I don't even know what kind of gun that was. That looked like one of those like um it looked kind of small. It looked like one of those World War II guns or something like that. But still, it's not good to be doing that kind of shit when you're at a nightclub per se, but also just if you're a um figure to some kid out there, like some role model, it's probably not a good idea to be to do that be doing that stuff. I mean, I understand because like Paul Pierce kind of did something like, well, he didn't show a gun, but he like was at a strip club or whatever like a couple of years ago, and that was not a good light for him. And he was my role model too back in the day whenever I was following the NBA. Besides Kobe, like sometimes you make mistakes, and John Morant made a huge one.
Yeah. And it's just it looks a lot worse than what it really is.
Yeah. All right, are we ready for
Yeah,
the color
because he just
commentary?
had like there was also like he's had like a whole bunch of like altercations and stuff, primarily also with the Pacers, and then
Didn't he like punch a kid or something?
um like there was that last month, and then he just had yeah, he's had the punching of a 17-year-old in a pickup game back in September. Um and then the Colorado Police Department started investigating him after he flashed a gun at a strip club, and they just said he wouldn't face criminal charges, stating that they are not able to determine the probable cause existed for filing those charges. So the situation is a real bad look. But was it really worth? But it's like you have John Morant kind of just has to learn that, like, figure out now. It's like, was that all really worth it? And
Yeah, it's
for kind of the career he's on, for the career path he was trying to get to, that answer is no. That wasn't worth it at all.
all right. You ready for the color
And
commentary?
yep. And this week's color commentary is the 30 for 30 suggestion box. The question is, should ESPN make a 30 for 30 style special for the following? The first one is the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series in 2016. the 2016 Chicago Cubs.
Um,
30 for 30 or nah?
I feel like it would be a good feel good story, but yeah, why not? 30 for 30.
I don't know if you would do a 30 for 30 or if the Cubs or if there would be a World Series story or documentary about the 2016 Chicago Cubs
I mean, there
or the
kind of
Chicago.
already is in a sense on YouTube. It's not like an official one, but there's people that I like the kind of documentaries they do where they break down the season by season uh progression of the team getting better and better and better. Because I like seeing where the players move and how they ended up picking up the puzzle pieces to make that team that would get to the World Series and win it.
Yep. Okay. The second one. The COVID pandemic and how it affected sports.
I feel like that one's a big one because, for one, no one knew when sports would continue, and it ended up continuing slowly when it hit the late summer mark for most sports. Baseball didn't even start till July. Football didn't start till it was normal, but it just didn't have fans in the stands for most teams. There were some that had limited capacity. Um, I don't even know what happened with soccer, to be honest. I don't really follow soccer. Um, but yeah, a lot of places did not have capacity for fans, and the NBA had the bubble situation in the playoffs, where it was at Disney World, where they did that at the Wide World Rain. I think it's Wide Worldwide
The
Sports
wide
Complex.
world of sports. The wide
Yeah.
world of sports. Yep.
God, that's a tongue twister. But yeah, I think that's a 30 for 30 special for sure.
Yes, I definitely think that a 30 for 30 or even just a standard documentary that probably Hollywood gets a hold of could work.
Oh yeah.
The 30 for 30, the rise and fall topic, the rise and fall of Antonio Brown.
That's more of a developing story still because he's not dead yet, and you can't really diagnose CTE until the person is dead. And really, I would just say it's a documentary or one of those true crime stories.
Yeah, I think that 30 for 30 would probably put it in a very interesting light and maybe even do a little bit more of a deep dive on Antonio Brown.
But yeah, I don't know. Dude's crazy. Enough said.
DeMar Hamlin.
Um, for this one, I feel like that's more of a documentary, but I feel like ESPN would do a 30 for 30 just based on the fact that that was a freak accident.
Yeah. Kind of thinking the same lines. Alex Smith. And this would actually be more of the full career. And I would say including the potential of being the draft bust back in the mid 2000s all the way to the breaking of his leg in 2018.
I think that's definitely a 30 for 30.
Yes, I would love to see the 30 for 30. Like, there was an E60 on it. Don't get me wrong. But this deserved a 30 for 30 look. And the Minnesota Vikings are the greatest comeback in NFL history against the Indianapolis Colts.
I think this is more of a mic'd up moment on NFL
Yeah.
rather than a 30 for 30. Because that was against Jeff Saturday. This was his first coaching game, right? Oh wait, no, he won
Um,
his first game as a interim coach.
yeah, but it was one of those where he kind of just had like a really bad interim run.
Yeah, the saying a 30
And
for 30, Chief.
yep. All right. And now that we've kind of wrapped up a little bit of what the 30 for 30s could bring together, we now go into the primetime game. Previously, last week, Ruckus and I picked our poison with NL players. And this week we are doing the AL. We did two position players each and one starting pitcher. All right, so Ruckus, I went first last time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And everything here is from the AL. And do you want position player number 1, position player number 2, or the pitcher?
Let's do both position players.
All right, I'm going to start you with position player number 2. Okay. So hitter number 1 is entering his age 25 season. He hit 253 with 22 home runs and 63 RBIs, stealing 11 and stole 11 bases. He had an OPS of 715, but the on-base percentage was 289. This Gold Glover in 2022 had 132 hits, with 20 of those hits being doubles. The second player is entering his age 28 season. Last year, he hit 291 with 22 home runs and 64 runs batted in. Had an OPS of 834 and with an on-base percentage of 366. Has a Gold Glove with the team that he won it from, but did not. So,
But
which
did not
player are
what?
you taking? Did not win the Gold Glove last season.
Oh, okay.
He has a Gold Glove in his career, but did not win it, and had 152 hits, with 24 of those hits being doubles.
Okay. I'm going with player number 2 on that.
So you're taking player B.
Yes.
Player B in this case is Carlos Correa.
Woo! Who was player A?
Jeremy Pena.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Jeremy Pena from the Houston Astros. And you ended up with Carlos Correa from the Minnesota Twins. Okay. So what's your first one for me there, Ruckus?
All right. Well, we're going to go with you don't want to choose between your first player or your second player?
Oh, a position player.
Okay. So this one will start with second base.
All right.
All right. So player A has 436 at bats for the season, 51 runs, 99 hits, 0 home runs, 20 RBIs, 13 stolen bases, a .227 batting average, a .281 on base percentage, and a .554 on OPS.
Okay.
Player B, 216 at bats, 20 runs, 55 hits, 2 home runs, 17 RBIs, 1 stolen base, a .255 batting average, a .288 on base percentage, a .621 OPS.
Okay, what season are each of those players entering into?
I picked the 2022 stats. I believe one of them. One is entering their 27 27-year-old season. The other is in their 28. So player A is 27, player B is 28.
Give me the second player.
The second player is David Fletcher.
Oh, nice. Fletch and who was the one I turned down?
Nicky Lopez.
Yeah. I think Fletch is a more consistent contact hitter, so that kind of worked out for me. All right. Your second position player. You're talking the guys behind the dish. Position player A. Entering his age 25 season. Last year, he hit 254 with 13 home runs and 42 runs batted in. Had an OPS of 806 with an on-base percentage of 362. 35 of his 101 hits were doubles. The second one is entering his age 32 season. Last year, he hit 274 with 9 home runs, 52 runs batted in. Had an OPS of 714 with an on-base percentage of 315. And 23 of his 109 hits were doubles. Which catcher are you taking?
How many RBIs did player A have?
42.
And the other one?
52.
Let's go with player B.
Okay. Player B, you chose Christian Vasquez. And the one you passed up on was Adley Rushman.
Uh-oh.
You passed up on Adley Rushman from the Baltimore Orioles. I'll take my second position player.
All right. So this is the outfield we are talking about here. So player A plays center field, 513 at bats, 89 runs, 137 hits, 25 home runs, 76 RBIs, 14 stolen bases, a .267 batting average, a .342 on base percentage, .814 OPS. And this is his age 33 season. Player number 2 is in his age 28th season, and last season he had 461 at bats, 54 runs, 140 hits, 5 home runs, 51 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, a .304 batting average, a .373 on base percentage, and a .772 OPS.
All right, so what was the average comparison between the two?
Oh, the batting average?
Yep.
267 for player A, 304 for player B.
Player B.
That is Andrew Benintendi.
Okay. And I turned away
George Springer.
Okay. I can live with that. And here is your pitcher. The first pitcher, pitcher A, entering the age 26 season, had a 10-5 record with 150 and went 153 and a third innings pitched, had an ERA of 3.23 and a whip of 1.141. And the strikeout to walk ratio was he struck out 150 while walking 35. The second pitcher, entering his age 32 season. A 12-10 record with a 174 and 2/3 innings pitched. Had an ERA of 3.35 and a WHIP of 1.237. It was a 12-10 record. Struck out 205 while walking 28. Ruckus, which one are you choosing?
What's the ERA difference between player A and B?
0.12 in favor of A.
Let's do player A.
Okay. Player A, you chose Brady Singer.
Woohoo!
But you passed on Kevin Gossman.
That's fine. I would take Singer in a heartbeat.
And I will go ahead and take my pitcher.
All right. So, player A is in his 27-year-old season. He finished with a 10-10 win-loss record last season, a 3.75 ERA, played 32 games, had 0 saves, had 180 innings pitched, 174 strikeouts, and a WHIP of 1.17. Player B, age 31 season, 12-12 win-loss, 3.71 ERA, 32 games played, 0 saves, obviously, 189 innings pitched, 212 strikeouts, and a WHIP of 1.19.
And you said that the first one was entering his age 27 season?
Correct.
And the second one you said was in their age 28 season?
31.
31. Yeah. Strikeout difference?
9. Player B has 9 more. Or actually, no. I was looking at innings pitched. My bad. Give me a second to calculate this. 38 strikeouts. Player B's court. Player B has more strikeouts than player A.
Yeah. I'll take player A.
All right. Player A is Pablo Lopez.
Okay. And player B?
Robbie Ray.
Ooh. That's interesting. Yeah. So not bad. Now that we've kind of gone through a few picks, we now can go right into the high heat, of which we preview the American League and some of the biggest moves that went on in the American League that were transitional. We have Kenley Jansen and Justin Turner to Boston. Kevin Kiermaier goes from Tampa to Canada, playing for the Blue Jays. Carlos Rodon to the Yankees. Josh Bell to the Guardians. Carlos Correa stays put while Kyle Farmer and Christian Vasquez join him as a member of the Minnesota Twins. Jacob deGrom to Texas. Jose Abreu to Houston. Teoscar Hernandez to Seattle. And Brandon Drury is a member of the Los Angeles Angels. So what do we have for the burning questions, Rex?
Will the Orioles youth movement bring more talented, fresh faces to the majors and have Baltimore pick up a coveted playoff spot?
I believe this is possible.
I think with the talent you have, most definitely. Compared to last season, where at near the end, like around at the end of the All-Star break, when they started going off, it looked real promising then, and then it kind of slowly died off. But you guys still looked really good.
I think the Orioles get there. And I believe that Gunnar Henderson ultimately, if he's up in the AAA or up in the major league level, he's gonna shape some minds, and I'm all for it. The second question that we have, excuse me, will the Guardians need to resort to being sellers at the deadline, dealing away and or Shane Bieber in the process?
Well, first off, might cut off a little bit. So the first guy was Jose Ramirez for the listeners
Yes.
listening. Um, so will the Guardians resort to being sellers? Depends on how the season goes. You have Josh Bell. You still have Jose Ramirez. You still got Jimenez. You've got Ahmed Rosario. You still got most of those guys there. Um, if they start declining near the trade deadline, I could see them pushing Shane Bieber out. I don't know if they really deal Jose Ramirez because Jose recently had that contract extension last season, and I don't know if they really want to trade their face of the franchise as we speak.
Yeah,
Maybe they trade Emmanuel Clase instead of Jose Ramirez, kind of like how the Angels traded away Russell Glacius last season to the Atlanta Braves, but we'll just have to see. I don't think it happens, but it all just depends on what happens.
Teams you have with the potential to oh wait, no, hold up. We still got one more burning question. Though Jacob deGrom has an injury history that has kept him away from pitching for significant stretches in his career, did the Texas Rangers invest in a Ferrari or a Fiat in signing the former NL Cy Young winner?
Well, to quote Fiat and King of the Hill, Dale Gribble thought Fords were fixed again Tonys, but really it was a Fiat. So honestly, I think DeGrom, when it comes to him being healthy, is a Ferrari. The only time Tony has to fix it again is when his elbow or his command has just not been great due to injuries. And honestly, I think the Rangers kind of did what the Mets did with Scherzer last season, where they and these two were both on the same team last season, and both were
Yep.
dealing with injuries. Um, but Scherzer, in my example, signed a hefty contract last season with the Mets and didn't really play much at all. And DeGrom uh pitched for a little bit as well, but not much at all either. So to be honest, I think they invested in an Audi instead of a Ferrari or a fix it again Tony.
Hmm.
I think it's the
I
middle
have,
ground between those.
yeah. I don't think it's a complete lemon, but the problem is that if the injuries catch up to DeGrom, it becomes a lemon.
All right,
And
Tony, fix it again.
I almost am thinking that it's probably just it's not a Ferrari, it's not quite a Fiat, but it's definitely something that is more so like it kind of needs just a little bit of work. And that work is kind of very, very specific. Kind of like a Volkswagen.
Onya.
All right. But now to where I was originally wanting to, which teams in the AL have a high likelihood of surprising some people?
And we went by parts of the division for the American League. So the first one was AL East, the second one was the Central, and the other one was the West. So
Yep.
for my picks, that will surprise people. I picked the Orioles, and so did Spennis. Obviously, for Spennis, it's more of a local team, but I honestly also think that they have the potential to surprise as well.
I have the Orioles, the White Sox, and the Rangers.
And then
Because
I finished.
I,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, because I don't have a lot of expectation on the White Sox or the Rangers at this point.
I have a feeling the Royals could surprise a lot of people with the young talent they have, and yes, the spring training games don't really usually dictate whether or not a team's going to do well because it's kind of a half-assed exhibition game that they're just trying to make sure that the players are healthy and or ready for the big leagues and seeing whether or not
Yep.
they can experiment with things. And then the Mariners, for my AOS, are going to be the ones that surprise people, in my
I think
opinion.
for me, I kind of shied away from ones that may not have been at the very top of the division, but kind of get a good amount of their stuff from like Figure It Out or kind of those other little daytime shows. So I think that with the oh wait, what was I putting here? It was with the Mariners. I kind of almost had like a little bit more expectation on them, especially after how well they did the year before.
Yeah.
Teams with the potential to disappoint.
I'm sorry, Spennis, but I gotta throw your Red Sox under the bus on this one. I had the Red
I
Sox, the Twins, and the Rangers.
I think the Red Sox are going to be a very middling team. hmm And then I'm just going to say the Red Sox I think are just middling.
Yeah.
We are not. I don't have very high expectations. So I don't know why you would say the Red Sox would disappoint when the expectation on them really honestly this season isn't all that high.
Well, you still signed a bunch of key guys too, like JT. You signed Kenley Jansen, like we were talking about earlier in the biggest moves. Um, you still have Kike Hernandez. You didn't give away Rafael Devers. You extended him to a hefty contract, which was probably going to happen one way or another. Um, I think the Red Sox can still compete. I just don't think they're going to do it in a very intense way.
Oh,
And then the Twins, I just know are gonna disappoint because they haven't won a damn playoff game in ages or really ever. And then the Rangers, because simply because they're wasting a lot of money on uh big money free agents that either pan out or don't, and most of the time they don't pan out very well.
mhm. Yeah, I just don't think that we'll be in the hunt for the wild card, but I think we'll probably be like last year where we kind of like lose it out in like August. But your division champs will both kind of go with the
Hold on.
AL East here. Oh,
You
you
so,
still got two other teams to. Oh, I still got my teams for
y-
disappoint.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Hold on.
I have the New York Yankees, the New York Yankees, the Cleveland Guardians, I think have potential to disappoint, and the Angels. Because the Angels are always like so hype on getting like these major players that are gonna come in, not gonna pan out. Anthony Rendon, injuries plagued him. All these other players they brought in eventually had to kind of go away.
And now Mike
And yet,
Trout is also dealing with a tragic injury of his back too.
yeah. So it's a lot. And what do you have with the Rangers and the Twins disappointments you've already gotten to?
Yes.
I think the I think if the Twins don't win, I think the Twins is definitely in a win the AL Central or bust type of situation.
Well, also you have the Twins are very injury riddled pretty much most of the time. Like Kepler hasn't been healthy and God knows how long. They usually he's usually one of the bigger pieces. To me, he's like the Eric Hosmer of the Twins, where he could hit the ball and whatnot, but Hosmer's more healthy than Max Kepler, in my opinion. Byron Buxton has been dealing with a lot of weird things, and the fact that they traded the Royals for Michael A. Taylor is a good piece, but I don't know if that's really going to be enough because they also traded for Pablo Lopez with the Luis Ariz trading, which he was one of their better players last season, and you also have, I mean, yeah, you still have Correa, but he's got to stay healthy. There were obvious injury and physical issues that were going on with him during the free agency period for for the
Carlos
reasoning on what,
Correa, yeah.
yeah, with Correa reasoning being his leg, um, with the Giants opting not to sign him, and then the Mets opting not to sign him with that whole
Yeah.
saga. And then the Rangers, just in general, they aren't complete at all.
All right. So, our division champions that we predicted.
All right, I will start with the AL East, and I will go with the New York Yankees. As last season, they became the division champs, and I think they'll repeat that, or at least try to get to the wild card. But I have them as my division champs for the East. I have the Chicago White Sox for my AL Central champs because they just seem like the most likely. Um, the AL West, I have the Houston Astros because they pretty much always take the crown as for recently, but yeah. I think they all have what it takes. Spence, what are your three?
Okay, so the AL East. I went with the Toronto Blue Jays. I think that they're I think that they just are constantly showing that they're getting better and better and better. In the AL Central, I am taking the Minnesota Twins. And then in the AL West, I agreed and I said the Houston Astros. Teams with wild card potential that we both said.
Um,
I put the Orioles in with wild card potential. I said the Guardians and I said the Rangers along with the New York Yankees.
for mine, I mainly just kind of made mine smaller than what Spence had, so I put the Blue Jays in there as wild card potential because last season they looked uh pretty good going into the playoffs, and then uh got swept by the Mariners in the first round, and I think they have potential. They traded some key pieces of that playoff run, like Teoscar Hernandez. Um, they also traded Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for other pieces. They got Dalton Varsho now. They've got um,
Still Kevin Biggio as well.
yeah, they still have him. They still have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. They still got some pieces. It's just how does that gel together? And then my and that was just for the AL East. The AL Central, I had the Royals being a wild card potential team because they might surprise us this season and do very well with all the rookies that they're trying out and other veterans. And then for my AL West, I put the Seattle Mariners because they have wildcard potential, and Spence also put them down as well. But I I think that they either do a little bit better or they fall down a little bit. as far as
Yeah.
talent goes.
I would say the worst thing that could happen is that the final year of everything, somebody falls on their face in there in Seattle. In Seattle, but I think Seattle is one of those teams that. Oh yeah, and I did have the Mariners down on my list of playoff contenders as well. So I'm glad that I managed to get that in there. And now we are getting ready to wrap up this episode. We go into stud and dud for our weekly picks. Where are you headed there, Ruckus?
All right, so my stud this week is L'Jarius Sneed for surprising his mom with a new Audi SUV, since his mom was like his uh family figure and definitely helped him out during the rough times. Um, and he wanted to pay her back by getting her a new SUV. And there's a very touching video of him driving the Audi sedan, or not the sedan, the Audi SUV into her driveway and surprising her with it and getting a big old hug from his mama. And then my honorable mention is Justin Steele and 6 relievers on the Cubs no hit the Padres in a spring training game. And then my dud is Mad Max gets called for a balk after playing the pitch clock too close many times.
Okay, here we go. My stud this week goes to Twins pitcher Kenta Maeda for pitching 2 scoreless innings, while every single pitch was tipped to the Rays because the PitchCom device used to give the sound of the pitcher was loud enough for the Rays bench to hear. And I am actually shocked that that Kenta Maeda was able to do that, because and Max Scherzer's now actually starting to use a pitch comm on his own wrist, and actually start to call his own pitch to try and speed up something. But my dud this week goes to Kendrick Perkins for his whole thing about the NBA MVP voters and Nikola Jokic winning the MVP, of which JJ Redick disagrees and actually exposed him for a lot of arguments that were very, very baseless. And I know we kind of have a whole lot of like heavily based topic on wherever this goes, but it's kind of a big deal. But it's like Kendrick Perkins was accusing Nikola Jokic of stat padding. I'm sorry, he's a big man that knows how to work the ball around the perimeter well and is just as much a playmaker as he is someone who can get to the paint. Those are not rigged stats. Those are just things you see in an eye test.
I agree.
And then JJ Redick calling out Kendrick Perkins' baseless points of, oh, we haven't had an MVP that has not been in the top 10 in scoring. Magic Johnson was borderline top 10 in one year. There was another year where he didn't even make the top 10 in scoring. And just because of all that doesn't mean that you don't make him a somebody. But Ruckus, on that note, go ahead and take us out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, where pretty much every week we try to give you the sports content and news. I am Ruckus.
And I'm Ruckus the Menace.
Thank you for listening to this, and also share with your friends, share with your colleagues, share with pretty much anybody. Get the word around. We'll be here, and obviously next week we will not have an episode as I will be out of town, and but we will be back the week after, which is I think
for the 1 year anniversary episode. This
God damn
is
right.
Yep, and we kind of want to spend as much as we can working on that, and I'm sure that you've probably already got a certain segment already done, and I know I'm of thinking of my ideas for that as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later in the future, but anyways, yeah, that's all I've got. We're excited for the next episode, which will be the 1 year. I won't hype it too much, but I am very excited for what we have in store for
Yeah,
you guys.
this is good. Yeah. That's
All
all
right,
I got here.
see you
Deuces.
later.